Yes, my name is Timothy A. Wise. I'm a researcher at the Small Planet Institute in Cambridge, Massachusetts in the United States, and I've just published a book called Eating Tomorrow, Agribusiness, Family Farmers, and the Battle for the Future of Food.
So, what brings you to Maputo?
I came to present the book at a book launch organized by the Open Society Foundation. My project began with a fellowship from the foundation, and I was pleased to get to present the findings from the book to people who I worked with and learned from in the book, from Zambia, from Malawi, and from Mozambique, each of which appear as a chapter in the book.
Congratulations for launching up the book.
Thank you.
What was your interest in this book?
I wanted to understand. I've been working in international development and agricultural development for 30 years, and I wanted to understand why government leaders at the national level, at the international level, were pursuing very expensive agricultural development policies that really weren't working very well in terms of feeding the hungry, while they were ignoring much more low-cost solutions being offered by their own small-scale farmers in their own countries. The title of the book, Eating Tomorrow, has a double meaning in English. There we face a huge challenge in making sure that everyone can eat today, and we're not doing a very good job of making sure people can eat today. And climate change will make it much more difficult for us to make sure everyone eats tomorrow. But the way we're pursuing our agricultural development, the production of our food on large, chemical-intensive, industrial-scale farms, is literally consuming the resources, the natural resources, the soil, the water, seeds, the climate, that we need to be able to feed our people in the future.
I could assume that some of the work, if not all, the things that you have put in this book is based on your interaction with smallholder farmers this part of Africa. What are key lessons that you're highlighting in this book?
The key lesson that I took out of some of my work in Southern Africa is that governments are focusing far too narrowly on one crop, on maize primarily, spending huge amounts of their government resources on input subsidy programs for maize. And in some ways they have succeeded in growing more maize, but they have not really succeeded in improving food security among the poorest members of their societies, including the farmers. If a maize growing program grows more maize but doesn't help hungry farmers be more food secure, then it's really not succeeding and needs to be looked at for alternatives.
I know when you were working on this book, you worked with Farm Radio to go to the field and interact with the smallholder farmers. What would you recommend to Farm Radio moving forward now in bringing out the key recommendations from this book?
Well, I think the wonderful thing about what Farm Radio does, and that I saw up close in Chikwawa in Malawi, is to work, use the radio program as a way of holding communities and governments to account for their promises and for their agricultural projects. It also is a critical way of getting smallholders' voices, community members' voices heard in not just on the radio, but in the policy process. There is far too little accountability on the part of governments to their smallholders. For example, in an irrigation project like was being carried out in the Shiri River Valley, the goal is to help smallholders grow more food. You have to monitor that to make sure that smallholders are actually getting the irrigation and able to grow more food, that the project is fulfilling those mandates. And a public kind of accountability that is provided by something like Farm Radio is critical to helping shine a light on where that program is working and where it is failing to work.
Do you have plans to launch this book in Malawi?
I don't have current plans, but I look forward to the opportunity to come back to Malawi. There are a lot of policy lessons that came out of the Malawi chapter, which was in which I focused a lot on the sort of the failing green revolution model for agriculture, the high investments the government and donors have made in input subsidy programs, mainly for maize, and how limited those programs are. I also looked a lot at the seed policies that were being developed over the last few years, and some of the contradictions in those seed policies, the need for those policies to take farmers and the seeds that they currently use and prefer into account. I think that process is continuing now with a process to develop a farmers' rights bill, and that farmers' rights bill will be very, very important to safeguard the rights of farmers to save and exchange and sell their seeds, as they've been doing for generations. I'm at the Small Planet Institute and at Tufts University in the Boston area in the United States, and the book is called Eating Tomorrow: Agribusiness, Family Farmers, and the Battle for the Future of Food.